sick view, bro. Sick view, dude. Sick view. All right, Fab Diaries on center stack poly gauge pod. I'm gonna grab the pod. Well, I'm gonna grab the display and then I'm gonna grab myself and sit in that seat over there. Into the cockpit. Okay, I left the steering wheel in here just to get you a reference on size. Oh man, it's a tiny little car in here. It's not terrible, but it's like it's like fucking Ripper style. This is the Holley 12 point something Pro Dash. We originally talked about this thing going here. It's so small in here that I don't think we need to like do driver passenger stuff. I think that this void here, like this, feels perfect for the display. It gets instrumentation not just to the driver, but to all of the passengers, especially the co-driver. So if we sync this thing like kind of here, then everybody gets to see it. I mean, honestly, you could put it that high and you're still not like, you can get that high without your line of vision being affected. But obviously for design purposes and just very obvious reasons, you don't want to have it that high. So I think we'll find a home for this thing. The way I'd like to build it is I'm kind of navigating this as I'm going here, but definitely have the screen itself on its own redundant hard mount to the chassis. That's why I brought this piece of paper. So just like a GPS unit, they kind of supply you with a template. This is a really good situation for just laying out your flat mounting surface for the back of this thing. In Dan's truck, you can see here the 3/4 inch border. It's almost, so it's 3/4 on the top, a little greater on the sides. It's about a 1 inch on the sides, but there's a, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a black border. So your actual screen is inset from there. So if we can build a piece that can go like up to that inner border, instead of be like where this thing just sets down into a pod, that's what I'd favor. It is more work, but I think it's a cleaner look, and I want to put it on James's car. So I think first and foremost, figuring out how we're going to do that. It looks like this thing's going to have to be two pieces because you're not going to be able to get a pod to like go around these tubes and good save and be in the front as well. So and be removable. So I think we'll have to set this in here and then build like a cap with a cowl and then like Zeus button pickups to kind of finish the shape off back here. That also lends a really good spot for mounting stuff like the ECU. Some of the mounting provisions for that, and obviously this is going to be a dedicated Fab Diaries episode on this portion, but some of the things like the ECU and some of the wiring, like the radio and everything, need to be thought about with packaging in here because it's so limited. The other thing we want to put in here is the switch panel for the switch pros up here. So that's going to be its own little thing, but I want to address this first. So I think what we'll do is I'm just going to kind of just do some eyeball engineering here and figure out what's going to work to get this set and what depth to set it, so I can actually still build a proper aluminum shape out here where it's not going to be compromised if it's like too far out and it's going to affect the design. So that's what I'm going to do right now, and then I'll get that backing plate going on a template and see where the notches are on the outside, so then we can actually hard mount this. That'll be the first step, hard mount this thing and then start building to it. I do have a piece of like a chromoly plate inset that sets into this same size screen, where then I can like kind of build to it and not worry about damaging the real display. The tape only goes so far with the display, so I'd rather have a hard surface on top of it that completely protects it. So that's where we're at. Grab a straight edge. Colin's gonna whack on some stuff. I'm locked in. All right, so I brought a couple essentials with me. Brought a couple essentials with me. That includes template paper, various straight edges. So a hard straight edge, I call this a bay. It's my flimsy straight edge. I like the 18-inch. This is a 15 just because I lost my 18, but these are just flimsy straight edges. I usually clip the ends really square if they have like a leading edge that's greater than the 1 inch it shows. Like sometimes they have like a little like 3/32 edge on each end, so I clip them so they're accurate so I can butt them up and get a proper reading from something. Bay before anything else. This is the most used thing I have is these straight edges, these flimsy guys. Hard straight edge to show kind of integrity with things. Scissors, and of course the green tape. So what I want to figure out before I start doing stuff is kind of what shapes we're gonna get here. I think I'm gonna draw it too, just on paper. But there's just gonna be some careful thought so I can make this thing right. I think I grabbed the 6-inch too. Oh, I didn't. I usually have a 6-inch too, but this thing's gonna wanna come out. It's gonna have a cowl. Even if I do this. You know, something. So, get this guy chilling. And then it's gonna have some kind of a hood here. The hood will help with any kind of glare reflective stuff, and it gives the thickness to it. Really want to make sure that like this thing's not too far where if we build a shape here it gets in the way. It looks pretty wide open. The other thing is going to be like mounting surfaces. I think I'm pretty good on just kind of shooting this where it feels right. This angle, so from my sight to the screen, I'd like to try to get perpendicular or 90, like this would be a 90 to my sight, sitting properly in the seat, not all like cocked over like I am. Whoa. So I need to grab the shorter straight edge, but yeah, just looking at it, like I got some good shapes here. It's still tricky. I wonder if we run it like inset. I don't know how much we can get away with, like as far as how far away it can be, but it almost feels better inside of those tubes. As long as the vision is not gone from it. Yeah, that would get dicey right there. So I think up high, we're just parks there, so that's not going to be a terrible thing. So shifting, yeah, if you're right there, you're solid. That ain't going to do anything. So the other thing is there's an axis panel here. So whatever tabs we make to mount like anything, any of this, the trim pod we'll call it, is gonna need to be accounted for the axis panel coming out, and not like building ourselves or barricading ourselves in with like Zeus buttons. I think that is the way, what I'm gonna wanna do here is to, mount the trim pod on a Zeus button program or a quarter turn fastener program. But first and foremost, just kind of setting this in the spot we want it is the ticket. I can get away with doing something, even when I'm looking at this now, if I build like a backing plate for this and then notch it to the intrusion bars here, or the A windshield tubes, whatever you want to call them, it's going to be in the way of that access panel. So it almost has to be bolted on. It does, yeah. So we'll have to make we'll have to make the hard mount for this on a its own plate with mounting provisions for being bolt on. So this can be removed, and then a tab can be on each side here to plant this thing. While we're at it, I think that I will do, it's kind of a tall, well, I'll put it on first. I'll build 2 bolts, probably 1/4-20s on each side here to capture this thing. So I think first and foremost, I'm gonna build out the plate for the back of this. We will use 063 4130 plate. Thin, super strong, kind of lightweight. A lot of this stuff is like all the brake structure and the shifter structure is actually not just sheet metal. It's 063 4130 plate. So it looks like sheet metal, but it's like extremely rigid. It's pretty race card out. Yeah, that's it. So let's start sending that, get that going. Maybe do a test template, not with all the holes in the mounting locations, but just something I can put brakes in just to figure that out, or I just send it out a plate. We shall see when I get to the table. You can save these Sharpies. Sometimes they just, the tip will get more dry. Whoa. But if you just throw the ink, you'll get it to kind of saturate back to the bottom. All right, little indicator on these guys. So that's our start. You can use this as a template, but I'd rather just do the layout properly. The holes that go in it, like the bigger holes I can do, but I'd at least want the ones for the screen to be proper on here, done by, you know, like a real layout. 15/16, okay, and I want 5 1/4, so 2 1/2, 2 5/8. A lot of the like layout stuff, when I was doing structural steel, I would constantly be doing layout, reading drawings, and you know, blueprints or whatever you want to call them, but I call them drawings, and then transferring all that stuff to metal, making cut lists, just doing all this structural steel shit. So some of this is second nature to me. This is another tool. Another tool for your life toolbox. So I trimmed 2 corners off of the template. I just want to get, there's information on here. Well, there's coordinates on this thing that does not have information, just regarding some of the exit ports on the back of the screen or the display. So all I'm doing is I'm getting this thing sighted up here with the hard template, or I guess the real thing, so I can make proper center punch. I'm just using clamps here so it doesn't move around. So here's your basic template. Let's see if this thing will do what I want. There we go. So your basic template. Thing gives you your rough stuff here. I already took all the information, transferred it. So here's my hard piece. I gave myself 1.5 inches of extra wing on each side of this. So this will be the display face. Be 1.5 inches per side. For mounting provisions, probably pop a brake in there just to add some rigidity to the piece. And then we'll trim this down. So I'll break it, do all the holes, put the screen on there, put it in the car, kind of look at what we need, and then I'll be able to trim these areas to kind of tailor it to the design and also to the packaging inside the cabin. You can see I just have big drunk driver Sharpie marks on all the indicators for where there will be holes, and then I have notes as far as the size of the holes that need to go in here. So I'm going to get these cut, drilled, and we're going to circle back. I do want to go into like more of an essentials episode on some of the basic tools, but like if you check this, so making holes in sheet metal or even plate work using a rotor broach system, these are all like a hole cutter rotor broach system. So you know, you can see this is more of a sheet metal application, but these are like the go-to for making perfect circles in plate. They are called a rota broach, but they're also just a sheet metal hole cutter. I stock all the sizes with backup. You know, you can get full kits for McMaster Card, just get them off Amazon, and then I order backup bits. You know, I have like a plethora of them. The bits do get smoked at some point. I mean, if you use lube in the right speed, then you're good, but you can see like I have my selection here. So I have my 1 1/4 inch, my 1/2 inch, and my 5/16, which I'm going to use. And then the 2 3/4, I'm just going to cut with an air saw. I don't have that size. I'd have to use a big hole saw, and I hate using those things. But these are a great unit to have. Just look up rota broach or hole saw. I think I see sheet metal hole cutter or something on Amazon. We'll put a link up. All our holes are done. Mounting holes, provisions for the like port exits for the electronics. I'm gonna get the display prepped for mock-up, get it mounted to our surface plate, cut the perimeters out of this first, and then get it into our spaceship. Remember the cart. Trying to keep the cart fresh right now. Always keep the cart fresh. I kind of come back to it. When I get too carried away, I'll get messes everywhere. Like the table will be messy, the cart will get messy, and then it's just hard to operate efficiently. So come back and tidy things up, put things where they need to go, and then you can come over to it, keep your workplace kind of based off of just the stuff that you're using for the operation, and then put that stuff back and prep for the next op, and just keep that going. And if you get in that habit every single project, you'll start fucking. Going taping. Got the plate cut to size. Put some angles in there. Add another break to the top. We'll go over that. I'm just gonna get this thing kind of solidified here. Lots of little trinkets that I don't want to mess up. I also want to get a call to my wire guy and kind of have him come up here with James's chuck, especially the interior constraints are going to lend to like putting things exactly in one place, and that's the only way they're going to fit. So I want to make sure that any and all electronic stuff has a home and it's gone through properly. So I'm going to call Justin and set up a time for him to come up here and kind of give me a second set of eyes and probably remind me of some stuff that I either don't know about or have forgotten about. No man is an island. There's one fastener that turns me off. It's a Phillips head and a flathead. All right, plates on. Orderly way. Get another standoff for mock-up and sit in that bastard. Ah. How does this feel? Put that thing where it's primary. Here is going to be not in park or neutral, because if we put it in park, it's going to kind of upset the vision. So neutral's right there, and then everything's downhill from there. Womp, womp, womp. Okay, so the brake handle, it's just enough to, yeah, we're not gonna see that part, so we're good. So we can send all that. So what I'm doing here is I'm just looking at the parallels of the sheet metal. Everything, all the sheet metal we did and the tube work, I can count on being parallel and tangent, so I can sit here and kind of sight to there. These tubes, I can just see this, there's a little tiny, well, actually, no, that's exact. Exact as my finger says when I finger it. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Anyways, pop a brake in this. I added this extra top part to break down, so it adds rigidity to this thing. I don't need to do a mounting tab there, it's just for rigidity. Getting the truck level on X and Y access points is gonna be beneficial. Yeah, we're at 0.1 right there. So looking a little low on that side. I have this just tacked in. It's not gonna be welded in. But the easiest path for me to build my tabs that will get welded to the intrusion bars here is just to do a little light tap. They can set when it's floating. We have our space under there. It's level. Got the angle that I want, and it's parallel. So that being said, it's pretty rigid as far as hanging out. I see some stuff I want to check here, and then you know, I can build tabs off the side of this, and then make the tabs, put them on here, then trim the side portion to be the right shape and design for these tabs, and finalize that, and boom, it's loading. So that lip on the top, that's going to be a great means to get our fastener system, like a quarter turn fastener. This needs to be two pieces. It needs to be a front face plate, like a bezel, and then it needs to have like the bezel needs to come through here, but it needs to be able to come off, and then all the way to like the front windshield cowl here, like another, like, so it's like an actual pod here. But it has to capture up here because this piece has to be separate from this piece. So this little return here, this broke edge, I can weld like probably 3, but maybe just 2 quarter turn or Zeus fasteners, 1, 2, ding, ding. And that can not only house and hold this one, but it can also sandwich over, and we can have that return where they're overlapping and they hold each other as a unit. Get maybe, you just do them strategic, but I'm just thinking out loud right now, but maybe like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a lot, but it makes sense to hold everything. And then 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 fasteners total. And that whole thing can kind of turn into this cool piece. And that's what we're going for here. That's what this episode is going to be on, is getting this pod. So not so much this portion of hard mounting this thing, but actually getting the pod and this shape formed as a little unit here. I'm gonna make sure this works on the other side. I'm also gonna transfer. So actually I'll make these out of steel first. Might round that edge too. It doesn't really need to be there. Sometimes I get carried away, and like, even though this shape's cool, if your material here and your hardware and your washer is here, like, I don't really need all this portion here. All right, like all that can kind of go away. So some areas I'll style that in, but having a little point down there isn't going to help anybody, especially if that's a welded tab on here. I don't need like a sharp point there. So just got to think about functionality. always as the primary before you get going on design. So I'm just trimming that. Right. So that's gonna be our footprint coming off of the chassis work there, and that's all good. I think I'm gonna verify this on the other side, make sure it's siding right, because I'm kind of running parallels here. Once I get that, I'm gonna trim like properly on this frame. I'm probably gonna, I'll mark where this goes. Then I gotta pop this thing off to get to those tacks and clean that area. So we'll have to do one more rehearsal on here to get these where they go, and then we're gonna send that, and then we can start doing all the aluminum. That is way dialed. All right. There we go. So, see these bad boys? I'm gonna prep that area there, get this set up, got both of them done. They're just symmetrical tabs. Everything's set up proper here where we can run symmetrical tabs and everything fits parallel and the way we need it to. So I'm gonna get these mounted, get this off, get this trimmed, finalize this shit. And while it's up here, I'm gonna take all the steps to mark out the info I need. Quick and easy. This thing ain't moving. I'll do both sides. It's gonna give me everything I need. Yahtzee. So let's start what we got. It's gonna give me enough info right there to shoot the moon, send it home, and finalize it. So obviously I just got this guy on here so we're not putting heat into the display. Tabs are done. This is all trimmed. Kind of get the vibe on that. So you can see here, this is just a steel plate to fit into the small recessed area of the display frame. And then I'm just gonna tape it on. It's already got the scribe marks located in here. Where the actual perimeter of the display is not lit, it's just a black frame around it. So this enables me to not only know where that is, but to also build to this without having risk of shit in the bed on damaging the screen. So here's what we got. I have 3 Zeus buttons setting up top here. They're all level. Kind of put a straightedge on there, put the digi on there. What I'm getting right now, I like how raw and functional and this open space in here. And I almost want to just create a visor, a brow. Keep the shape going on the backside here, especially because we can house some electronics here. But this vibe of just having the thing kind of floating like this, I like that, and I think that's something I want to capitalize on. I think filling this whole thing might just be clustered and take away from all the mechanical feeling and the vibe that this thing has. So I think I'm going to experiment with the brow first and then go from there. Just going to do some arts and crafts, get things going like that. I got this, I always, with template paper, I don't know how much we can see over here. With template paper, I always like to just start big. This is another item that I want to cover in our essentials. This is actually called chipboard. It's not, you know, poster board or RAM board. It's technically this chipboard. And what I do is I just start big, chunk this thing out. I'm about to tie this thing up, I think. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. So what I'm getting at is like, I'm gonna cut this. I'm not gonna run like one piece going all down here, because then I can really nail my form and not worry about if I botch the roll here. I can just do a spoiler roll on each side, get my visor proper, land the quarter turns, and then build off the sides, and then build the inner part. See what I'm saying? You can just detail out the little spots, like just leave them big, like this one's not done yet. You just detail them out, and then you have, it's easy. You just chunk the whole thing, then you add your little pieces in. It's way more efficient that way. You're not fucking with one big template. And if you mess up and you trim too much or something, then you just pull that thing off and put a new one on. And you don't botch the whole template and shit the bed with that thing. Stuff I'm thinking about right now is just perimeters. Like if this thing goes down, where does that want to start? The portion of this, like going to the display, like do we want to run it higher now? Do we want to keep going there? Like how far is this one gonna want to go, like where it looks like it's too much? But I think what we want to do is run this like down, so have like a three-sided deal, open air down here. So this whole piece will kind of follow the plane here, like an angled plane going down, favoring the screen or the display, and then, you know, wrap like a braidage, wrap all the way down, and like a drop down into here. So I think that's a one piece. This is a one piece, the inside, two piece, three piece to cap some of this, and then see what we get for that outer piece. And I'm getting even more ideas to maybe even leave some of that open. So I don't know, we're gonna have to kind of assess this as we go. I think what I want to do right now is just figure out the perimeters on each side of this, and the depth, as far as how far we want this to come out. Once I get that established, I'll just make this piece out of aluminum, and then I'll just start like building this in, and make some design calls and revisions as we're going. Worry too, like this little corner here, I don't know if that thing, it needs to be fastened, because it's just gonna want to move around. Retake that thing here. That might not be enough. spot here because there's something about this. So, you know, everything is exposed and raw and mechanical looking. I just feel like I might need to just take a risk. I don't see the construction of it yet, so I think I just have to cut one piece, and if I have to redo it, I have to redo it. It's a simple piece, but like something with this like just a brow here, and then like the pod carrying through with the same angle, but like just having that, like where this is floating and hanging, you know, and there's like space under here, and there's something here, I just don't know exactly how to tap into it, and where I can get this on and stable and even like work to it, but I feel like there's something with this. I don't know. It's almost floating, and it's like just making a brow here, like a functional brow. It just seems like that's the right way, so it's not like your like luxury Prerunner. It's like just this functional, like styled kind of just like sun glare slash protective piece, and that's it. Like it's not any more than that. So I'm gonna stop repeating myself and just send this thing. There's more than one thing. Oh, okay. Oof. Yikes. Alright. Here's what I'm working with. So I got the guy in there. Got our 3 Zeus buttons, our top Zeus buttons located. This is the profile I've been working here. So what I want to do here, I'm going to pop another Zeus button here on the side so that we got a capture point on each side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to be a proper visor. We're still running material down on the sides. We're leaving this exposed, so it's still kind of airy like everything else, right? Everything's kind of got that feeling, right? Everything's like, so a lot of openings in here, and that kind of breaks the space up. It doesn't make it as tight, doesn't make it as claustrophobic, and it just goes with what's going on. So I've been tinkering with this longer than I need to be recording myself doing it for. I'm gonna trim this top part. You can see this only goes to here. So I kind of have a marker up there. I'm gonna mark it a little better. And then I'm gonna run this out of aluminum and put a Zeus button right here. So I think I'll probably get that spring plate going in here first to really dictate my shapes here. Kind of, hell, I'm just gonna put it in the corner. But once this is here, we'll roll, spoiler roll into this other one. This one's already got a spoiler roll in it. I don't like the gap that's here, so I might make this one a little longer to fill that. Do the same on the other side, and then what we'll do is this other panel, or the other piece of shape here that we're gonna put in is this, like the other side. I don't know what you'd call that, but like the other part of the visor here, and that part can, let me see, get a reference. Like that, this whole portion can kind of wrap down and around, wrap here, and then, you know, maybe end here like ½ inch or something. So whatever this gap is, I'll probably keep that consistent here, and then it'll expand and go span all the way across. So all one piece. So 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. And that's gonna solidify this whole front portion, and I think that's gonna be a happy shape. It's gonna make sense. Like, it already feels good. So that's what I'm doing. All right, so I got my side profile pieces in. Zeus button, or spring plate, whatever you want to call that thing, welded all the way. I put a spoiler roll on here. I was kind of trying to figure out what areas should be rolled and what shouldn't. That's always like a gamble, just to figure out your edges, because it's so generic with the spoiler roll, where it's just like you got to figure out if the angle is not close to 90 or close to where you want it. Sometimes it's not worth rolling both pieces. So I think this roll met with a flat to go across this. It's going to be proper. I made sure my trims are consistent per side. You can kind of see the profile here. So these trims are proper where they come up and meet here. I got both sides marked, so I'm going to pull this off and trim it down. And then I'm going to start that front template. I think I'm also going to put a step in here in this portion where I want the top panel to recess down and capture the same Zeus locations. So it'll kind of have like the traditional thing I do where you have like a return here. This part steps down and then another part lays over it, but it kind of flushes out because it goes into that step. You gotta cut the sides down. But I am starting to see the shape. And I'm like, oh, it's a step in the right direction. I also made the spread of these outer Zeus buttons, thinking about being able to get them with a normal quarter turn tool next to the intrusion bars there. So we got that perfect spread there. We're not binding. I don't like to use those little 91s or have to really reach. I want to be able to get to these quarter turns easy. So yeah, that's our start. I like this. I like it a lot. It's simple, but it works. I added an arch. I don't know how much it's gonna stick up. I want it to stick up. Put a little crown in that bad boy. Bow! There we go. The older you get, the easier you make noises doing less active shit. Facts. It's almost right there. Gotta form that edge over. There's a little gap in here that sucks. I'm just gonna mark that where I need to cut. I'm gonna fold that whole bastard over. This one needs a trim. It's still unhappy, so I think we can pull that off. The 16th off there or something. And I'm gonna roll those bastards. I'm gonna put some shape in them. I'm just spinning my wheels until I start taking a risk with finishing that quarter out. All right, steps done on this guy. That's where our cowl, like our secondary piece that's gonna go here. This portion is gonna overlap. It's gonna set onto there. I wanted to get this in first because that makes our elevation, actually like our fitment could be tricky if we don't have that, because it actually you know, now it raises it up just a little bit. So that front face, like this panel is going to be a little offset if we didn't do that now. So I got that going. I also have these corners kind of worked on here. They look like little death spikes. So my goal right now is I want to get the top surface and the side surfaces tacked so I can work the front surface. I like to use these button heads for my like initial fabrication on stuff, and then when I finalize everything, I'll use the countersunk style, but this just gets it done quick, and I don't need to work on countersinking every single or dimpling every single location. I can just do that all at once, be more efficient like that.
Oh, that's close, dude. Just thinking like, what else do I want to do to this thing before I send it all the way home? I'm gonna have to trim the top panel a little bit.
Maybe go test the other side. So we just need a little bit of trim on these sides, and then we're gonna be able to fit up. Side plates are on. I did countersink this, the side pickup, because it's easier to do as one individual piece instead of like a big bracket piece or a three-dimensional shape. So got that on. This trim is good. Obviously you can see like there's a fitment gap there. I'm gonna fill some of that in with the welder. I'll take it for now, but like ideally I would rather have that like wrap all the way around. I kind of know what happened there, and it's just, you know, when I added the roll into that, it took from the plate because it drew it down from the tube and away. So it's just a rookie mistake. It's all good though. You can see kind of the shapes here. Like this has got a really nice, just a little bit of a radius in there that makes it's like a nice touch. You know, obviously there's a smooth radius on the cowl, and you get this the opposing side radius in it, and then that kind of flows like really nice. You get brop, and then ron dong bra ting, like it drops off right there. So got both sides in. Same thing here. So I'm into the shape. I see what we got going on here. The other thing I was thinking about too is I think we'll do, when we do that top panel, so when we do, let me get on the other side. When we do this one, you know, our continuous cowl here, this will be a separate piece that comes off. I'm thinking we'll put ECU in here. It is gonna get hot here. We can put insulation down. What else is nice is we're not closing this all in, so there is a way for the heat to be extracted from here. I think that's an awesome kind of, oops, we did that and now it makes sense feature, because you see that all that open space there, that's gonna hit. The other thing to do, since this is primarily to protect and to house stuff and to delete glare here for sure, we can do a nice mesh opening in here with stainless woven mesh that again, it extracts all the heat, adds a defrost function to the windshield just because of the heat coming out, womp womp womp. You know, and lets all the electronics get cool if we're doing electronics there. I'm gonna get these tacked together and go from there. So what I want to do with these is I have enough information here to fit that edge and, you know, fill in that bullshit that I got there. So I want that to be a clean hit, clean notch, but I have enough here. I can kind of get this thing off and add to it, or even just pull it and weld it right here, but it's a good start. Alrighty, about 5 a.m. right now. I just wanted to show you guys, I talked about cleaning this up. So look at, this is just welded on both sides, but see, I added, like I God, I don't know if it's a good reference, but if you've ever like drizzled like a sandcastle, like the tops of a sandcastle, kind of just lead, like build up, weld, you know, where I know that shape's gonna be, and then on the same on the inside, I'll just go and weld the inside seam, as well as, you know, flush out all that extra corner. I can clean some of this inside up, but I'll really just focus on cleaning the outside. And that's kind of the thing you want to think about too with a lot of these seams. Sometimes when you're welding this stuff, it's sensitive to getting full penetration because you're going to upset the surface, or you just can't get it. Sometimes you can, but something you can always bank on is welding the backside. And if you can, what you can like really bank on is if you can tack the piece together and then weld it from the backside first and then weld it from the front side, you're dialed. So I try to double weld everything like that. Even if it gets penetration, I'll just go over the backside where it's all the camel humps or the seagull shit or whatever you want to call it, just to smooth it out and ensure that it's not going to crack. It's just so the thing doesn't crack. When you sand that and you're removing material, that's all it is. You just don't want to have the thing crack on you or crack on the client even more. So I'm going to sand some of this stuff down. I'm not going to sand all of it. Well, I probably will. And then I'm gonna refile the openings where the tubes go and make all this go away. I'm slowly taking over Colin's table right now, just because it's morning time and nobody's here. And once I'm done sanding this, I will clean this table back up so he can have it fresh for when he gets here. And then I'm just gonna, like I preached about having a mess, my table's a mess. So just gonna hit this thing with a 3-inch 60 grit pad from Jag 10 with a little bit of a tube wax. We'll be good to go. Gotta have the tube wax. It is insanely better. It accelerates your sanding like in a way you can't even compare. Let's go, dude. Oh, the air is just powering up, dude. It's that low pressure system. See what we can do. I know what can do this. Another thing, I always opt to use the 4.5 electric sander, especially for cutoff wheel style stuff and even like finishing edges. This, I should have just done this first, but it's such a small area that I figured, I mean, that's 2.25 inch per side. So it's under 5 inches of this sanding, and I figured I could hit it with the air. But the electric sander, that's the way to be efficient. Like you're shit in the bed just using air all day. Same thing, tube wax. You know, I took the material down to where I wanted it, but I didn't go below like the surface, you know, the side and the top surfaces. I just got right to where I can kind of see the edges of where the weld material is. And then that gives me a good opportunity to kind of file sand or finish sand. Right now, I'm gonna leave it raw dog. Whoa, and just get the insides because we're gonna build a whole nother piece on here. So there's no point in me like doing heavy file, like finishing on the corner edges. When we're gonna add more weld and edges, I'll do it all at once. I just want a file notch for the tube like we talked about where I filled in that area. You can kind of see how the tubes have holsters in here. Like, you know, you got it. I don't want to take too much off. I'm already nervous. I can go back and fit this, but I'm just using my best judgment as far as how much material I'm removing. So I'm gonna set this thing back in the car. Just a second here. We meet again, Frontier. Ooh. Let me get this thing. Yeah. Yeah, that's the ticket. Let's go see what the other side does. So that's close. I still need to do a little more, but it's so much better already. Now it's looking like it actually fits around that tube. What I was saying is, you got to think about when stuff like that bugs you. When it bugs you, and you contemplate not doing it because it's just extra work, that's a bad habit. Just your brain is already telling you to make that better. So just make it better. Don't, you know, especially with my thing, because I still do it. I will, if I have 3 thoughts of something, whatever that is in life, usually that means fucking do it. Whatever that is, you need to do that. You've already thought about it 3 times. Something is telling you to either do something or not do something. And I act on that shit. So we're close. See, there's a little bit of rough shit there. I'm just gonna make a mark and then we're ready to go on that front plate. We're on. I do spy a little bit of unparalleled guy going on here where you can see like this profile line versus this profile line. This guy's got a little bit of a dive, but it fits really good and we're gonna send it. So next order of business, I want to get this whole front thing. So it's not a ton of work, but this front piece is gonna go up. Let me get my straight edge. So essentially, this piece this is all gonna be one piece, right? It's gonna go right down to that border line that I have scribed in there. We're gonna run material and then we're gonna put a break in it, like right there. Clack, you know, nice break in that. So it follows the profile of this. You can see here that this, it goes up to this face and it has a break. Bing. This angle should land us right to the scribe where the display turns on, but we're still on the frame right there. So we're in a good spot. And then we're just gonna run this whole piece over and run like whatever this gap is, maybe 3/8 or something of a return all the way down to here. So it is gonna get hot. I gotta weld it cold, you know, weld each side just because I don't have room to run it large, you know. Like I can't run this extra because I have to fit it first. So we'll be fine. I'm just gonna get a template going. All right, scissors, tape, straight edge, a couple different straight edges. We'll grab short guy, long guy, and template paper. It's feeling right. Like I mean, we already started, but can't wait to see James in this thing. I might even cry. Might not just be him. So I'm just gonna chunk out the top first. Find a straight piece of factory edge on the template, make my life easy. Just kind of bank on that. Boom, done. See some insecurities, or whoa, those two. See some inconsistencies. About a quarter. That's got to go get trimmed about a quarter. Is what it is. Other than that, sometimes I'll get a piece of material like flat, like, you know, old aluminum drop or something, and I'll just set it in my lap. So I have a mobile table space. So when I'm doing stuff like this, I can get a somewhat accurate presentation of what I want. I'm gonna go pop a break in this thing. See what we get. It's like a flat build. I just want to get a rough scribe on the back or just an indicator of where to cut. Now again, this is a template. It's not like with aluminum especially. I will get in the accurate points where I need them, but more often than not, I will just cut everything a little over and then finalize it when I have the hard part on deck in the car, because this, I'm gonna pull it off. I can tell that this angle is just a little more down than this, and if you run it like that and you know about it right now, it's only gonna get worse. So, got a fixer, integrity check. Got to be careful getting in and out of these seats too, because they have a heavy bolster on the side, and you're sliding your butt in and out of there, you're gonna wear it, and the only time that these seats should be getting worn out is when they're being used in the desert or in and out drive-through or whatever. All right, trim is done, so I took more, I just had to like edge this to make it consistent and parallel with both sides. And then I added more roll into here. I just kind of had to hand form it just because the roller's not going to fit in there anymore. But it's where it needs to be now. It's pretty consistent. This is also the same face as the other side. And then obviously we have this roll to work through, where it's a, you know, a very, very kind of mellow radius, but it's there. And that's going to do stuff for the shape as well. So I'm going to get going on our template again. Zeus buttons, or Zeus button tools, are always good to have multiples of, so you are not leaving it on the table and then going working in the car. And you know, if you don't have an apron, then you're worrying about where all your tooling is all the time. So I would suggest getting an apron. Then you can just keep everything in your pockets that you need that's kind of traveling with you back and forth. Like I always keep my Cleco tool in there if I'm working with Clecos. I keep the actual Clecos in there, whatever miscellaneous hardware, and then definitely like Zeus buttons. I always have in my pockets and the Zeus button tool. Most of the time the Zeus button tool, but I'll still run multiples because I'll leave it somewhere and then search again. So. Ooh, that's tight. It's nice. I'm all giddy to do that top panel now because I know it gets the mesh cut out. Those are like my favorite things to be there. Super satisfying. Okay. Round two. Start with this. I think what's going on is it's wanting to follow the radius on the top because I have a break in here. So I might have to just grab a real piece, build out the top. I think that's what I'm gonna do, and then build out the sides. So I'm gonna make this, put it up here, put the break in it, more educated break. A little too much roll on this corner where I hand formed it. I'm gonna pop some of that out, cut this out, put the break in it, leave it a little longer, get it set up here, fit it, tack it, and then I'm gonna add those little extendo pieces on the side. That's gonna make our life easy. Easier. Okay, going dark arts in here. Looks good. Did a trim on this side too. Get some tape on there. Just gotta kind of assess it from different angles here. It's another thing about building stuff, especially in the middle of a car, is figuring out, or at least just ensuring that you're looking at this thing from all the right sides and not just from one side, and then you go walk over the other side. It's like notching a tube. Sometimes I'll notch a tube and I'll think, oh, it's good, because I can like feel it with my hands for the area that I'm working, and then I'll go to the other side and it's just a big old black hole of gap. The other side looks good. So back to taping this thing. This is gonna just hold it so I can get a final trim on it, and then we're gonna go frickin' here, one at a time. You can see the top is pretty good, but those corners are where it's gonna wanna dive in, just because it gets more progressive. The radius gets more progressive. So I'm gonna err on the side of caution on this stuff and not put too much in, but also this is like really tight here. We're just gonna trim like a 1/16 off this, because then I know it ensures we're gonna have a good fit up for welding it. And I scribed all here, so we'll get this going. And then another thing too, I don't know if I mentioned this screen. So, you know, there might be a question of like, well, what happens when you take this plate off because it's so close to the frame? Is it gonna like, is the screen gonna be compromised if stuff flexes? So what I did is I've been building this thing with 2 little washers in there, which gives me about 3/32 or an 1/8 inch of space. So I'll take those, once this is all built, I'll take those washers out and the screen will actually go back and away from the material, just enough with a consistent gap everywhere. When I get this thing tacked in, this is all fit. I think I'm gonna have to tack bottom part first, tack the middle, kind of work the corners in. Check this thing for level again, just to make sure it didn't slip away on me. And then we'll get the sides done and then weld it, probably sand a little bit of it, like just rough sand, and then build the whole front. Yeah. Oh, we can't do that yet. Oh, way. Fit up's good. Fit Fitup's real good. Yep. That fucks. All right. Hey, man. Just because you heard me say that, huh? It's personal. It's always personal. It's always personal, dude. That was about me, bro. I know that was about me, dude. All right. Put a little pressure on this thing when I tack the top. It's so close that I'll be able to, well, hopefully. The other thing too, aluminum, man, I always think I can like do even tacking with no glove on, and the way the heat transfers, aluminum hits different, man. Aluminum hits different. As I say that. All right, let's see. Where are we at? Where are we at? Get some proper tacks on there. Oh, smoked it, brother. When you're feathering it, brother. Get over that other side. I could try to shoot it from here, but if I go to botch town on it, it's not worth it. There we go. That's a weird one. I gotta pry that thing out. I can see the ear of it is like going into it. You guys are gonna laugh at this thing. This is the most important tool when I'm fitting aluminum. Look at that bad boy, dude. Look at that bad boy. This is like my ride or die. And I just get in there. I've kind of sharpened the edges, and I just get just enough of an edge in the material where I can really get things how I want them and put them in a good spot. So we're good. All right, going finger burning. Dude. Really glad it's got that little profile on it. It's got some good shape to it. It's just a minimal hit of radius, like it straightens out down here, but even that break has a little bit of crown in it. It's got just enough of radius to make it feel right. So cool. We're good. I'm gonna get our side pieces done. Just templates. Tack them on, weld this thing in place. This is a good fixture for this thing. Maybe a question you guys have, when you weld shapes like this and you have the Zeus buttons already located in the part, does it move them or pull them? The answer is yes, sometimes it does. Most of the time it doesn't. If the fit up's good and the panels are kind of happy where they live, and you're not having to like press, and like this is not pressing. This like pry to get that was just me moving an edge out on this, you know, like as long as they're not upset and there's not gaps where the fit up is, you're good. Like it doesn't want to move the location. So I mean, there's always extenuating circumstances, but more often than not, you're going to be in a good spot. I've seen people even like take the spring plate and make like a riveted part that goes over it that has a center hole, and then they cleco to the center hole. Just if they need to make adjustments, they can do that. But I just send it like this, and it works out. You know, let's say 95% of the time. So that's a risk that's worth it to me. Liking this, how this is floating. I don't know if it's like visible with the camera, but it's a cool program here, and I think we'll get more of that once that cover's on, because then it's going to add an element of it's hot, an element of shade under here. So just cool, like just open, airy, just the whole vibe, right? We're gonna get this top part all dialed too. So this is just our first installment, and then we're gonna hit that top part after we finish the lower. So like I said, I'm gonna get this guy going, put these in here, put some kind of appropriate shape in here that makes sense, form them, tack them. Got to be very careful tacking here. I probably will just pull the screen off, or I won't tack there at all, and I'll fit that seam where this thing butts to the other one where it's flush. I'll just fit this off the truck so I'm not close to the screen at all, but I can get most of this tacked all the way down. Let's go hardcore templating. Chunk it out, chunk it out, dude. Yeah, that's gonna give it some good dynamic stuff. Sounding professional, dynamic stuff, huh? Going professional sounding. So I'm gonna have that guy run. I don't know if you can see, but I'm gonna have it go in almost to the axis panel there. The trick is going to be getting it in line and keeping it in line with this guy. Well, we're gonna get it, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, this is gonna do the old trick. Just trying to figure out, we want it just to go there. I'm using the wide tip, or I call it the drunk driver tip for cutting, but for doing like general template stuff like this, I can get it close with that, and then if I really want to tighten this stuff up, then I'll flip over to the fine tip. But we're getting pretty close here on our execution. Okay. Frit. Ooh, going fucking. Oh, don't get it too close, bro. All right, there we go. Ooh. Right before that step roll dips down is where I'm gonna cut it. That's what we want right there, dude. Yeah, Dilled. It's the ultimate way, like a bro talks. I know whenever I hear my voice, I sound like a bro, but the classic way to say dude if you're a bro is Dilled. What's up, Dilled? Oh, Dilled. And then if you want to say hell yeah, say how. H like A-L-L. Hell yeah, Dilled. Hell yeah, Dilled. Oh, Dilled. Hell yeah, Dilled. Kind of hits right. All right, well, final trim right here. This is good enough for me to go over on the other side, verify, see if this fits on the other side. And then cut this chingaderas out of aluminum. I made it really tight to the hard mount for the display just to leave room for trimming if I want. But yeah, this thing's doing what it's supposed to. So look at, we got the seam right there. This thing's following the shape. Kind of diving down, and then see there's an indicator mark on there where the step roll goes down to meet that access panel where it gives it that shelf or the home there. So I'm kind of holding it. There is a small gap. See that guy? So I'm just gonna make a note on there to make some extra material. And then we got like that's what we'll get when we're done. So blend it all up and it'll be a three-dimensional shape. Just kind of a cool piece, and we just gotta get around that corner right there. So that's our only danger zone where the fitment needs to be proper. But again, this whole screen's gonna move back about 3/16 of an inch, and then we're dialed. So build it tight, then put the screen where in its place, and we have a natural, consistent space or gap around the whole thing. So I'm gonna verify the other side and go sending. Part of making those side strips is going to be figuring out that radius, right? So I either form that by hand, or since we do all kinds of illegitimate stuff here, I have a lot of rounds that I use for multiple things. Something like that. Something like that. A lot of found object fabrication here. So I can kind of sit this up here and get the party started. Like, it's close. It's close enough that it's gonna get enough compound where I can take bend out of it after it's already got that radius and fit it perfect. So just something like that makes life easy to have laying around, because the aluminum is so malleable. It's so easy to form that you can just pop that in there and mark where you want it, mark where your peak is gonna be there of the radius, and send it like that. So I got some blue Sharpie right here. Danger zone. One thing with aluminum that I notice, super sensitive. Obviously it's sensitive to contaminants, but Sharpie is like, will just blow your load right there, not in a good way. So I'm gonna wipe that down before I tack this on. Bring ding ding down, ding down. That's a happy camper in there. I think I want a little more off the top though. The fine adjustments I will do with a file. Like when I'm trying to get these to really have a home here. I won't go to the sander. I'll just, if it's just a minimal thing, I'll file that bastard. Oh yeah. That's a happy camper right there. Still sensing a little bit of a discrepancy though on the top part. I'm gonna leave some of that. I can fit it. I want to just get a... No, I know what that needs. I can fix it right now. We are back. Womp. Pick a area where I can get one in. Well, where I think I can get one in. Yikes. That was just dumb. Resort to plan B if I have to. Or plan G. Plan G for tape. Green tape. I like about 2 parts of that. We're gonna have to go spreading. Oh, watch that. Just like that. There she is. Okay. Weld the very end. I'll do that on the table, unless I have to weld the very end. Big old gobstopper. All right. Oh yeah, there we go. That little click right there. I just sealed my deal. I'll be accepting all donations for a nice inverter welder. I really wish I could get one. I just don't have the means to get a nice, like a nicer dynasty. But I'm sure at some point that'll come to fruition when it's supposed to. Just a little bit of an edge here. I think I'm just going to use the material to weld that area. Get some tacks in right now, and then I think what's best is that we move on to the front structure. Just leave it tacked, and then I'll just get into it, weld all this all at once. So don't worry about that seam or the part being flush right there. It's all good. I think, yeah, that's the, like, this isn't like perfectly like edged up like that or lined up. This one's I can kind of feel a little thing here, but what I can do is I can just take some of the material from this portion and put it into this. And then obviously this just needs kind of a click to set in flush. The other side's pretty flush here. So I think what we do is I'm gonna finish up the tacks here, and then let's start digesting the front. You know what I don't like? I don't like this area. I don't like it. It needs a breakup. So sometimes with that, and you want to break up space, doesn't hurt to put a bead roll in it, like a step roll. So I get the functionality, like it makes sense, but when I just feel like there should be something in there. So I think what we'll do, bear with me here. Like that. So kind of go with this angle, right? Go with that. Run the radius of the brake. Same on that side. This step roll will come down right where the scribe is for the frame, so it'll like make sense when the screen turns on, and it'll capture some of the reflection of that. It'll be a cool little spot. So I think we'll add that. I can fit this in the bead roller. Ooh, can I? I don't know. Let's figure it out from there. That might be a bust. I think I'll get it though. Anyways, let's talk about our next endeavor. So now we have this. You can, just for reference, kind of that void we can work with. You can even raise it a little higher, but just want to fill that in. That's a great cavity for wiring or any kind of small accessories. So I'm just gonna start assessing shapes, start making sense of what's gonna work there that's gonna correspond with what we've already got going on here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play that tube just going right through our structure. So like drawing through, picking up kind of on this angle and throwing that thing through. It's going to be the ticket. I think what we want to do, I have this line here, that indicator line. Trying to figure out where I can get a good shot on this thing. So I have this indicator. I want this to be on the plane that's like more, not in line with this front panel, but something kicked out, like close, but I want it to land before the hardware there. And then where that line ends, I want to break this whole thing. I want to kind of fold it down. So I have a profile. I'm going to cut large over this profile, but I'm going to go ahead and send a break in there and put this back and finalize a trim piece here. And I'm going to circle back once I get an actual aluminum piece here. I will need to set the tone with the Zeus buttons. So I can almost use my template to do that right now, but I gotta assess that. I wanna get a Zeus button or a spring plate here, start it like that, and then fold the template over and see where that lands, because it will be on a whole different plane and angle. front side profile plates, the vibe is right. So what we're going for here is to kind of transfer that plane through the tube and up and over, but keep something where this tube's kind of living in between here. I have one spring plate per side in there. So both of these are on. Added a little bit of shape change here, so it kind of takes this portion and chunks it off to the side and keeps these in line almost, and then it starts to pull in. So you can kind of see like top view. And then this just lies right on top of the panel. So we'll get like one button here to locate. We might not even need that. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I think I was gonna put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I think if we just do 1, 2, 3, 4, we're good. So this thing is pretty close to just being finalized as far as all the fabrication on it. And then I gotta figure out mesh cutouts, see if that's even worth doing. If there's gonna be electronics in here and there's not gonna be a windshield on, then I don't know if it's good to have the electronics with like a opening on top. So I'm gonna assess that in a minute, but I'm gonna work on getting the top panel tightened up and fabricated. Wow. Try me. That'll do. That's kind of my perspective here. But what, you know, my other issue is like this is a little low, and I can see like even if you do this, I'm just gonna have to make sure that that hits right, because this top panel, remember this top panel has to come over and across, and then it also needs to go and come up on top of this, get captured by these guys and sit in this little shelf. So we're all good. Remember again, put a link up there for the Klein digi levels, just to get up on those if you don't have them. If you can get 4, get 4. If not, get as many as you can. So this is me just taking the smaller piece. Kind of the same concept, right? Just taking this, chunking this out. Cut it, don't move the huge primary panel, and then just start like a secondary template to put over it where you get a really good fit up. And then you can just trim that and tape that guy on, make sure it's taped properly. And then you can detail it, and you're not taking the whole panel on, or the whole template on and off. Pretty much it in a nutshell. So what I want to do, this thing, I mean, obviously you can see the template's pretty much done here. It's chunked out enough. It's got like my key points of information that I know I'm gonna need. The rest of this stuff I can final trim once I get it cut out. The one thing I don't like though is just how flat this is. Like when you get a flat surface, especially in like the middle of a car like this, it has that chance where it's gonna feel like it dips. Like it cavitates. You know, you just need to add something so it's not flat like that. So I think I'm going to put this in the English wheel and just get a little bit of a crown over this thing. It doesn't have to be the whole thing. It just needs to be enough here. I'm going to kind of lay out a quick grid and pop crown into my piece, just because like it does need to be flat, where the Zeus pickups are, 1, 2, 3. And I'm not gonna go all the way out to this side. I just wanna get something where it's like this goes away, like this, or just big time flat guy. So that's what's next. I'm gonna make this piece and go wrap, and then put it on. Exactly what we needed. It's getting a little easier. The thing's still super uncomfortable. I haven't watched any metal shaping content or videos, so just off what Rod showed me, and that's it. I probably should, but it is what it is, so check it out. It's got just enough in there. I got just the basics chunked off the sides of this thing. I'm gonna acetone this so I can get an accurate reading on where our cutouts are. And then I'm gonna just add the template back on here, do our cutouts, and then start final fitting this into the car. It's really important with acetone that you don't keep it on a table where you're grinding. Well, let's just say, for me, I do not like to keep acetone on any areas where I'm grinding or welding. Same thing, don't set it on the welder, because if there's something that just arcs off that, it could be really cool, but involve a fire and stuff, and damage and stuff. So I just always try to either keep the acetone like below the table or on my cart or something, just out of the way, somewhere I can grab it. Cart's all organized, know where my stuff is. Doesn't look like chaos on the table. See what this actually does when put on a truck, see if it really fits. Ooh. Okay. Ooh. Ooh. Thing's pretty good. Just need a little like final like file sanding on there to get that thing to yacht right into there. Obviously this thing is pretty happy. Not gonna roll the sides of it just because these vertical pieces here have enough roll where when we just fit that in there, it's gonna be a smooth transition and a smooth radius. But yeah, the radius is hitting. Just didn't want to have that essence of flatness there. So we're on. Another trick, so obviously I need to trim this top surface. Right now it's kind of like, you looked at it, this is our side piece, this is our top, and I need to figure out where that good trim is to hit that. Sometimes if it's too much of an angle, you can't get in there with a scribe to mark where it needs to be. So just to get it close, what I'll do is I'll take this off and I'll go, okay, well, where can I see where this edge leads? And if I just mark this tube here, and then I go down here and I give like a general mark. What I can do is put this guy on, and it gives me enough info where I can transfer over. All right, so I set that where I want it, and then this is just a general indicator to get me close, right? And then that trim will give us enough edge removal where we can get an accurate scribe. Yep. So I got all 3 locations done up here. I've also laid out like a final trim line just to get this thing to sit on the shelf there. Also laid out where this is gonna be needing to be trimmed just to get everything ready to tack. So I'm gonna do my last adjustments on this top sheet, and then I think I probably need to also treat the radius on the wiper cowl here at the same time, just so I'm not taking this on and off and on and off. When I do this last treatment, then I will be ready to tack everything on and finalize the top part. All dialed. Thing's pretty dialed. I got this thing, I'm gonna get this thing going, this side going first as far as tacking, so you can see it's ready to kind of go down and it's hitting perfect. Something I want to watch, just make sure I might put a clamp on this area, like from face of this to the tube on both sides, just so it doesn't walk forward. I don't have anything to prevent it. Like, it's got a little bit of play with the Zeus button, so I don't want it to gap itself. You can see the fitment. The fitment's super. So I'm just gonna tape it. Like I said, clamp first, put some tape on here to hold the general shape, and then go hardcore tacking. And one thing I'm noticing too is we do have that crown on the front side, so I don't know if I'm just gonna press it down, but the part that's going to the wiper cowl, could almost leave it raised, but it'll be kind of gapped. So probably just press it down and we'll be good. So this is just gonna assure, oh, I gotta figure out a way for it to work first. Perfect. That Irwin clamp is doing its thing with no rubbers on it. It's kind of shoddy, you know? right, king of scissors are welding. We got all the seagull poop on here. Went through, welded the backside. Same with the hood unit, or whatever you want to call this thing, middle cowl. So top welds, made sure I got all the edges there. I added a little bit here. There was a little bit of like a gap that wasn't consistent with the other side, so I just added. Should be enough. It was maybe just like a 16th, under an 1/8. And then you can see here, all seam welded. So right now I am going to hit this stuff with the 4.5 electric sander, take everything down, file it, and then finish it and put it back on the car. You can see I didn't take any of like the edge. I just faced this side. I haven't actually done anything with the corner. On this one I rounded a little bit. I faced this one, so I'm gonna get in here with a different tool, probably a barrel sander, and hit this stuff. I think I can hit this with a smaller sander, but just a little bit of a compound radius here, so it's not maybe optimal to do it with the big electric guy. These are all done, just roughed out, so I still got to kind of chase the edge a little bit, but we're in a good spot. I'm gonna change up the tooling now. I think I got one more spot here. Yeah, dang, dude. Whoa, dude. Oh man, it's getting worse. It's getting worse, dude. It's getting worse. This thing's huge. Danger. See what this thing will do. Anytime you start getting a big vibration and this thing catches wrong, it'll just rot and fucking twist all this thing all the way just in pieces, and you'll have to form it back. Yeah, I left this, like all these areas big, just so I could trim it like appropriately, but I didn't want to have minimal material in here while I'm welding because it'll grab and distort it, so it's easier to just do it and trim it smaller. But I think I'm gonna hit this with a file first, put it back in the car, make some appropriate lines as to where I want to cut this stuff, cut it, and then really finish it out DA style or whatever I want to do on this thing. So you can see we're pretty much on the file program here. This thing, all edges are taken care of like via file. I put it in some light over by my box. We have like rows on each side of the studio with lighting, with corrugated metal that kind of reflects things. So I just figured I could give you some more light here, but you can see the file really, it leaves its mark for reflections. And you can tell this piece is very uniform now. We've gotten all the corners kind of how they wanted to be. The only thing that's really uncomfortable right now is like all this edge. So like I said, I'm gonna bring this thing back into the car, into the middle there. We'll button it up, and then I'm gonna make a final cut line on all this area here. What that's gonna do is that's gonna clean everything up, and then I can come back. I have, like I said, I have all my main edges filed. Things are smooth, so that we'll just fluff and buff after I make those 2 cuts. It is pretty gnarly in here right now. We have a lot of projects in various forms, but several are ready to go. I'm really excited to get Dan's black truck out of here and the Jeep out of here, just because we have 2 special ones coming in. So on top of that, we got the Chasing Passion project over there that I'm jonesing on. So I want to finish what I got going on this lower portion and close this thing out. So that's where we're at. I really like how this thing looks just floating too. That's kind of cool. It's very like precision mechanical. I think we already said that 5 times, but regardless, I'm gonna button this thing back up. We'll do our scribe or our mark on each side and fluff and buff and install. Cold brew. Oh my god, so good. I don't know how I went from monsters to cold brew. Anyways, we got the center display hood thing. I don't know what to call it yet. We got all the lines marked on the outside to cut the final perimeter on the thing. So that's our cut line. Smooth, easy transition into that little corner pocket there where the display is going to be. Same on this side. So that'll be an air saw item. Then I am going to kind of file sand all the edges on both units, not just this portion, but the hood here. So maybe we'll call that the cowl right now, display cowl. That actually might work. So the display cowl, we'll cut our final trim here. And then we will file sand the hood and the display cowl all the way, and then go hardcore fluff and buffing. I'll get with you guys before that to kind of show you what I'm using. So we'll check in then. Right to the end because I can get a solid hit of filing going on there to really tighten it up. File brush. let's take a look at these bad boys. So these are a focus up. These are a 4.5 inch, like a focus up. These are a 4.5 inch Scotch pad. This one's a little used. For an electric sander. It's the same as like a, you know, this is a 5, I think they're actually 5 inch. Yeah, they're 5 inch. This is a 5 inch 60 grit disc. These are both available from Jag 10. That's kind of our sponsor here at the shop for abrasives. But these are optimal for, like, you know, usually you'd take, oh, it's just getting dirty. You would take like a small, this is your typical, like your 3 inch, you know, roll lock or spin on, spin off style. Let me get it for you. So that's your typical. When you have small marks like this, you know, like file marks, these are really good to take scratches off. But when you're doing it on a large scale, sitting with this thing to do so much just doesn't make sense to me. And these guys just accelerate the process on top of being on something electric where it just torques endlessly. So I put this on. I still use the sauce, and it really butters things out on all the finish. Sometimes this guy with the sauce will spit a lot of the wax around, so I try to keep some of the tooling out of the way just so I don't have to clean it later. Pretty heavy duty finish on that thing. It's nice that it kind of polishes it to the point where you can see imperfections or scratches. So I'm gonna keep going. I gotta be a little careful on the compound radiuses because it'll kind of start to eat at that. So it's just an awkward piece too. Like, I wish I had a better way to hold it, and I'm probably just not thinking about one. So just gonna hit this the same way. I don't need to get the whole thing. This might turn into a DA piece because some of the cross hatching here is, well, I might hit the whole thing, who knows. But some of that cross hatching from the English wheel really can be alleviated with the just the orbital sander. So we'll see. But this thing's pretty much where we want it. I don't like the inconsistencies of scuffing there. And I know it's gonna get powder coated or upholstered. There's also a little pinhole. Gosh, it's gonna bug me. I'm gonna have to get it. There's a pinhole there. And there's like 2 there. And I know you can't see them, but it's there in the finish. So I'm gonna have to fill it. Bite the bullet and fix these little highlight area. Just the focus can do its thing. All right, there's a little pinhole there. There's 2 more pinholes here. So as much as I could wrap this up, I just need to bite the bullet and fix it. So that's what I'm gonna do. So these guys are done. It's a little more underlying issue. Just not enough weld going on there. That's the part that I couldn't get all of it welded on the backside on the deeper cut. So bled through and I started welding, kind of chased the crack down, made sure it penetrated, added more material here. I'm gonna finish these back out. What I was gonna get to it this is like your next level of sanding or polishing. You have your scotch on the electric, the 3-inch scotch here, and then these guys, if you want like that T1000 Terminator, just metallic polish for aluminum, this is it. Now if you're powder coating or upholstering or whatever and you're going to coat the application, I don't think you necessarily need this. But if you're just trying to rip and you want to, you know, shine something out, or it's going to have a raw finish, these are very satisfying to use. But you do need to have a really good finish first before you apply this one. Fluff and buff complete. I just have these in there to hold these 2 pieces together. You can see the display cowl on the hood are all together, all welded, file sanded, coming to an end on this lower portion. Pretty pleased with all this. It's fun to look at this stuff in raw form and shiny, because you can tell the work that's into it. You know, sometimes when you powder stuff or you paint stuff, you never know what kind of dark arts spooky shit is lying under there via filler or sealer or whatever. So raw always kind of really lets you know what's up. But I'm pretty happy with this thing. I think this is how I'm gonna leave it till I want. So another thing is I want to upholster this, like this lower portion and the upper portion, and that'll be the only upholstered thing in the whole car. We'll just see what that looks like later. But regardless, this is how I'm gonna leave this stuff. I do want to finish the upper portion today, so I'm gonna start on that, and it should be a simpler unit. Every time I say that, that's usually the opposite, but we'll see. I'm gonna weld the these button tabs here. And put our piece back on, start looking towards the top for what we're doing next. Put a little grain on this bad boy. The uniformity of that just felt better to me. Just did the sides on this guy. So now we're ready to put it on. So spacers are taken out of this, so our display is on its mounting plate just like it should be. That was, like I said, just to kind of build to. The actual plate is out of here. That's my like protective plate. So the frames here, that's this is the factory display screen that's recessed in here. So there's no more of that stuff. So we'll have proper gappage there. I use different size use buttons for different applications if need be. Obviously, like the top portion where there's 3 things clamping together, I'll use a longer button. This stuff I use tighter stuff just because it's only 2. So the point of this use button is to have a spring-loaded panel where it's tight. It's not to be loose. And that's to do away with any vibration. That fits really good. Okay. Pretty happy with the fitment. I mean, I can see this thing keeps getting caught. See, like there's a little bit of stuff going on here, but it's not like gapped. And I like that we have a really consistent space here for the display. I like this. I think we could probably even put a light under there and it would add an awesome feature to this thing at night. But you can see there's a nice spatial kind of cavity. The crown on the upper portion, it's not flat now, we're good. We have just a small amount of crown where it's not lending itself to wanting the concave, and it's also, now that it's metal shaped, it's not gonna want to concave. So I have also constructed the upper console. So I'm gonna call that an upper control console. Just a Switch Pro 12 in there with like a nice trim cap on here. So everything's kind of like the tubes are almost holstered in there. My favorite detail with this is definitely the tubes going through and the functionality of why it's like that, to be able to get that cowl off and have the display almost hood, if you will, 2 separate entities, and that feeling of space in there. I'm really happy with it. And if you look at everything kind of in the bigger picture, it definitely like fits the bill. As far as our upper control console goes and doing a fab diaries on it, there's enough foundation and fundamental with the display cowl there to really execute something like the upper control console. And it's the same kind of thing with the Truggy, where we did the roof scoop and then the hood hawk, it's on there. It's very similar principles and it's the same kind of thing. So I really have to fine tune and balance my efficiency with getting stuff done in the right manner and documenting this stuff. So I wanted to just kind of cover this. There's a ton of information here. This was a long ride. Great result. It's just a really pretty unit. But you know, this is the complementary piece. So when you look at this thing as a whole, don't mind the saber light. It's really a good piece. I'll kind of get in here and show you too. So from my point of view here, it's everything's very ergonomical. The shifter doesn't, you know, that's neutral and it's not in your way. This is almost from like my height here. When it goes in park, obviously it's there, but you're never there. So everything works. Like even the e-brake handle is clear of that corner. So we've really gotten things where they need to be. I think the feeling of space here is nice because we're not just clustering this thing with, you know, useless material. Just to make a dash where you know, you still kind of feel like you're in a machine, but it's not just super filled up. So I'm really pleased with the design. Alrighty, so that concludes our Fab Diaries on the display cowl for the Nissan. That was a lot of information. I know it was a lot longer of an episode. Originally, I think part of that is just because originally we started with a design, at least in my head, I was gonna do like a big enclosed situation on that and kind of sink the dash in, and just by working with the constraints of the cab and the packaging, we ended up with a more optimal design and something really functional, and just the shapes really work well. So I'm super happy with it. You know, let me know how the duration of this thing, I'm sure it's gonna run long, so just let me know what you guys think as far as if that's too long, if we should split the thing up, or if it's optimal. So thank you guys again for the support. We don't really have a curriculum here or anything. I'm just gonna kind of lay these down when I can, and like I keep saying, we're gonna run through a series of them. They're just gonna be essentials, like almost like a more beginner stuff, or just, you know, tools and material and all that stuff. So again, thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, have a good day. Bye.